Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching our live briefing for Thursday, July 30th. Today, Westminster Canterbury Richmond is pleased to share with you some updates on our testing and our outbreak plan implementation. And thanks to the encouraging results of the recent testing, we're now able to move forward with some of our next steps plan that I'll spend some time describing for you today. Later today or tomorrow, you'll receive a written memo with all the details of everything that I try to explain today. After me, Will Blackwell will give you an update on the testing and the situation in Parsons Healthcare Center. Scott Jonte has a few dining updates and announcements. Sherry Grady has an update on the Tower Green project. And Gail Haglund has updates from the foundation. And then we'll end with Lynn McClintock introducing our Thoughtful Thursday segment. So today I'm sharing two important changes that we're making as part of our next steps, step 5 in our next steps plan. But I want to preface this announcement with the fact that if there's an increase in positive COVID-19 cases or something changes with the state, we may need to stop or change processes and services as we go. We anticipate that we'll be able to continue to expand service and allow visitation as our resources allow. Other services that we've been providing due to the pandemic temporarily will need to be phased out as we resume some of our normal operations. And I want to thank you in advance for your understanding as we work to fine-tune these plans and processes over the coming weeks. The first change that I'm sharing today is related to the guidelines for independent living residents who are traveling off campus overnight. Beginning August 1st, independent living residents who travel overnight, the guidelines will change. As you know, currently, independent living residents may travel off campus, and when they travel off campus, we ask that anyone continues to be very cautious, continue wearing your masks in public, and abide by all the social distancing recommendations. The change, starting August 1st, is that if you're traveling by private automobile, you will not need to be quarantined or tested upon your return. However, if your travel is by plane or train or bus, the precautions that we've had will remain in place. If traveling by train, plane, or bus, you'll be required on the first day back to come to the clinic and get tested and then stay in quarantine until we get your negative result. And you can call the clinic and schedule that time to be tested if you're traveling by plane or train or bus. You're also welcome to go off campus and get tested, including some of the rapid COVID-19 testing sites available now around town, and bring those results to the clinic, and that will also get you out of quarantine. If that test is required due to your travel, then, like I said, you'd need to be quarantined until we get a negative test, and we just ask you to self-quarantine in your apartment. But if you've traveled by private automobile and you return, you will, and you may resume your normal activities just as if you've been on campus. We would like to ask you, though, if you've traveled or been off campus and you feel unwell, or if you return from travel and have any concerns at all that you could have been exposed, or that you traveled to an area where the infection rates are really high, please stay home, self-quarantine, and let us get you tested so you can have the peace of mind and community can have the peace of mind that you're well. Because that testing is important. So in summary, just to remind you, if you travel by a private automobile and you're well when you return from travel, you can continue resume your normal activities, and so that's a big change. The second big change we're introducing today is relative to independent living visitation. Our last day of the structured scheduled visitation that we've been using for the last few weeks, the last day of that for independent living residents will be Tuesday, August 4th. These are the scheduled visits that are currently taking place in the Canterbury room. Beginning Thursday, August 6th, independent living residents can have their families visit them in their apartments or homes on a limited basis. This visitation is on Thursday through Sunday. So just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Your visitors, if they're going to come and visit you in your home or your apartment, must arrive here on campus between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And we're going to need to turn off that access at 3 p.m. So anybody who shows up after 3 will not be permitted to enter the community. We're also asking that this visitation only happen in your homes and that public spaces, no visitation in public spaces, and our guests on campus will not be allowed in the dining rooms or any of the other community program spaces or offices. For this visitation, there's a maximum of 2 visitors per resident or couple. Those visitors must wear a mask at all times in the public areas, not in your apartments, and are required to have a temperature check and answer the screening questions upon their arrival. For the screening, your guests are going to come through the gates. They're going to drive to the Center for Creative Living entrance loop and park in the short-term parking along the sidewalk. There'll be signage. We'll ask them to follow that signage to the screening location. They'll need to answer the questions, and please ask them, they need to answer the questions honestly. After the question and screening, they'll receive a wristband indicating that they have been screened. Any visitors with a temperature above 100 degrees Fahrenheit or have any of the other COVID symptoms will not be permitted to visit that day. But once they're through the screening and they have their wristband, they will return to their vehicle. We're asking tower and garden visitors to park in the tower visitor lot, courtyard visitors to park in the east lot. Visitors to Home on the Green or the Glebe will park at those homes. Visitors are welcome in those apartments until 8 p.m. We're going to ask everyone to be back off campus by 8 p.m. It's important for us to say that you as residents inviting these folks into your homes, you're going to be responsible for disinfecting your apartments after having those guests. So please plan accordingly. This change brings risks, especially to those of you inviting visitors into your home. And I'll be honest, we're not recommending that you do this at this point, but we're allowing it. So please use the appropriate precautions to protect yourself. Everyone needs to continue to mask and maintain social distances from the visitors so that we can remain safe. Assisted living visitation will continue by appointment only, and the plan for Parsons Healthcare visitation has been created. However, we're going to have to wait until we receive guidance from CMS to determine when we can begin. As soon as that type of visitation is allowed, we are ready. We have the space ready, and we have the policies and processes ready to go. That's a lot of information. If you have questions, and I'm sure there will be some questions, please refer to the memo that you're going to receive either later today or tomorrow, which will try to explain that and answer any questions. We really do appreciate your patience and understanding as we introduce these changes to our processes. We're moving slowly towards reopening. We need to do this both right and we need to do it safely. We really don't want to dissatisfy you or your guests, and we certainly don't want anyone to get sick. So thanks again for understanding and supporting our efforts. I will have more to share with you on Tuesday regarding the other parts of our next steps. which will explain how we're going to be allowing others onto campus who provide services in your homes. So please tune in on Tuesday and we have more information on that. Next up is Will Blackwell with an update on Parsons Health Center and a little more about the PPS survey. So, Will?
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank you all for your help and support with the PPS National Guard survey held on July 20th and 21st. The National Guard was very complimentary of our residents, staff, and our facilities. Our results were outstanding, and again, I appreciate your continued support by wearing your mask, washing your hands frequently, and social distancing. I wanted to give you an update with our lab partner, LabCorp. Since our outbreak in the healthcare center, LabCorp has been instructed by the Virginia Department of Health to make our COVID-19 testing results a priority. We are experiencing a return lab results within 2 to 4 days. This is much better than it was in the past. Now I'd like to tell you about a treat that we had yesterday. Yesterday, July the 29th, we had our third focused infection control survey with the Department of Health due to our outbreak and our new COVID unit. Our first survey was April 1st. Our second survey was June 24th. We had 4 surveyors that the team had to work with yesterday. 1 surveyor was on campus and toured all 3 floors and the COVID unit. The COVID unit is located on the 3rd floor pavilion. She interviewed nursing, housekeeping staff, and residents on her tour. She wanted to actually go and see where our personal protective equipment was stored, and she wanted to see exactly how much we had. She observed and asked questions along the tour. The other surveyors were virtual. They reviewed policies and reviewed resident records. They reviewed all of our communications and listened to all of John's briefings. At the end of the day, they were very complimentary of our work, especially the results of our PPS National Guard survey. They are recommending no deficiencies. I'd like to give a huge shout out to the PHC, Parsons Healthcare Nursing Team, and Shared Services for their continued outstanding results. Now I'd like to give you an update about the COVID-19 unit. The COVID-19 unit, like I said before, is on the 3rd floor pavilion. 4 residents were moved to the COVID-19 unit on Friday, June the 24th. Since then, 2 of our residents on the unit have tested negative and returned back to their homes in the Parsons Healthcare Center. The other 2 residents continue to improve, and we are testing them regularly. This unit will be open as needed, but is currently still open with 2 residents. I want to give you an overall update on our cases. In summary, since March, Westminster Canterbury has confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the total of 7 residents, 23 employees. 2 Parsons Healthcare residents are currently infected and isolated in the COVID unit. So far, 16 of our 23 employees have recovered, tested negative twice, and are able to return back to work. 7 employees are recovering in quarantine. If you have any questions, I'm available. Next up is Scott Jonte.
Good afternoon, residents. Just a few talking points today. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the residents who came out to the promenade to celebrate the 45th anniversary. It was a great evening where we served over 120 residents a delicious meal produced by our chef, Chris Stemmel. Wonderful evening, great socializing, safely, but it was a fantastic night, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. As many of you know, we have transitioned the service in the promenade to a full a la carte service where we take your orders tableside. And it is because of this transition that the dining group has elected to postpone our delivery fee service until September. Again, we will not be instituting the delivery service fee that we had discussed for August 3rd. We are going to postpone it until September. This will allow us to reorganize ourselves a little bit as we continue to roll out this a la carte service that we have. More information to come. One question that does continually come up is, when we do this service, will we have a meals to go or a carry-out service available? And yes, we will. We will roll out both services, both a carry-out service out of the promenade as well as the delivery fee, first part of September. More information to come. Special note to all the residents and their families, we have discontinued the Dine email address for the dining department at Westminster Canterbury. It was originally dine@wcrichmond.org. That email address is no longer active. We did not receive too much traffic over the last 4 or 5 weeks, really. If you have any questions or need to contact me directly, you can do so at sjonte@wcrichmond.org. Couple of reminders. While reservations are not required for breakfast and lunch, they are for dinner. We encourage you to make reservations in advance, not to wait to the last minute. Please remember to arrive 10 minutes before your reservation, no later than 10 minutes after. Continue to wear your mask while you're in and about the community and within the dining room. It should only be removed while you're at the table. Lastly, if you would like a copy of your receipt, please ask the host or hostess at the reservation stand upon entering the dining room. They will be happy to get you one. Up next is Sherry Grady.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have some very exciting news about the Tower Green. After months and months of hard work and landscaping, we are finally ready to have our ribbon cutting ceremony Monday, August the 3rd at 10 a.m. Please join us out there and have some popsicles in our new park. After all of this, we hope that you're going to enjoy this new park-like space and will bring you much happiness. I also have just a real quick post-anniversary update about the balloons. You may see these smiley face balloons all over our community, and feel free, if you would like to have one, please take one. They're going to be collected on Friday. If you want any, please be sure to take them before 3 p.m. That would be tomorrow. And please leave the weights with either the tower or the center desk so that they can be reused in the future. Have a wonderful afternoon. And up next is Gail Haglund.
Good afternoon. It's great to be able to talk with you this afternoon. As you know, the fellowship program, which provides life care, housing, meals, medical care, and all the vital living of Westminster Canterbury, that program is the core program of Westminster Canterbury Foundation. We want to strengthen the way we share the impact of fellowship with our generous donors, and so we need your input. In today's issue of The Tales, you'll find an article on the front page that requests your input. All answers will be completely confidential, so there's no need to sign your name, though you certainly can if you want to. We know that fellowship means a lot to many of you, donors, family members, recipients. We'd love to hear from you in your own words. At the tower and center desks and the Avalon mailing room, there will be envelopes, not boxes, that are very clearly marked. Please place your responses there. Also, you can respond via Touchtown. Just open your Touchtown app and look for the Tales section, and in the question that just says, what does the fellowship program mean to you? And that'll be the top item, and you can just enter your answer. Even if you're entering from your own Touchtown account, it still remains completely confidential unless you choose to add your name. So thank you very, very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Earlier this week, we sent packets out about the Spiritual Center from the Foundation. We hope you'll enjoy looking through that, and if you're interested, there's also a video you can watch. The video offers a tour of the Spiritual Center that also includes some comments from Lynn McClintock, some very thoughtful resident comments, and some from me. We'll place the video on Touchdown, and you can easily find the video by going to YouTube. Just go to your regular search engine, type in YouTube, and then just search for Westminster Canterbury Richmond. The video, and actually a lot of videos from us, will be right there. And I do ask that you prayerfully consider a gift toward the Spiritual Center. The foundation made a commitment to raise $4 million, and we've already received nearly $3 million so far. Just today, the artist was here who's creating a permanent piece of art to honor our donors and include every donor's name. So it's certainly not too late. Your name can be included too. And I saw that already a number of you have sent a gift, and thank you so much. That means so very, very much. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week. Next up is Lynn McClintock.
Thank you, Gail. Indeed, we are very excited about the Spiritual Center, and we are very grateful for your support. In these days, you're hearing a lot of information. There are a lot of changes going on in the world. What we really need each day is something to ground us. And so pastoral care is mindful of what you all are going through these days, and we create prayer booklets, daily prayer booklets, every month. And our August booklet is hot off the press, and we will be delivering them tomorrow. If you received a prayer booklet in the past, we have your name, and you don't need to call us because we will deliver one to you. If you haven't received one in the past, please call Vanessa Perry at extension 1502 or David Curtis at extension 5179, and we will be happy to bring this to you. It is a daily prayer that we've written, and this month, we're very excited that several staff members have provided prayers for the August booklet. So we do hope that you'll give us a call, and we hope you'll enjoy, and we hope it will be helpful. The last little announcement for me is just to remind you about a sermon for every Sunday, which takes place Sundays at 4 p.m. And this week, one of our local preachers is going to provide a message, Reverend Carla Pratt Keys of Ginter Park Presbyterian Church, and she will preach on feeding of the multitude in the desert. So we hope that you will join us at 4 on Sunday for that preaching. On Thursdays, we have been featuring one of our resident clergy to provide some thoughts on what's happening in the world. And this week, we have Reverend Bill Blake, who will be sharing his thoughts with you. We welcome Bill.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Good afternoon to everyone. Glad to, almost said we're glad to see you, but it's good to imagine that we are seeing you, even if we can't. But good to be with you. I read these two brief verses from the Gospel, St. John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. This is Jesus speaking. And now I give you a new commandment: love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. If you have love for one another, then everyone will know that you are my disciples. I give you a new commandment: love one another. I can see the apostles who are lying on their couches for that Last Supper in that upper room, shaking their heads and saying, what does he mean? A new commandment. Love one another. That's as old as the book of Exodus anyway, where in the book of Exodus, the writer tells us that we should love one another. All the world's religions say that we should love one another. Shortly after the time of Jesus, there was one of the followers of Jesus, was not one of his immediate contemporaries, but one of his apostles, called himself Paul, Saul of Tarsus, then became Paul the Apostle after he was converted to Christianity, says that faith and hope were very important virtues, but of all of the virtues, love was the greatest. And on through the Middle Ages and into the Reformation period, on into the modern period, again and again, we find the words, love one another. And so what does Jesus mean when he says, I give you a new commandment? It goes right on up into our present time. There were the pop artists back in the 70s. John Lennon wrote for the Beatles a song, All You Need Is Love. Some of you have sung that song, I'm sure. And then there was two brothers, Dan and John, who wrote a song entitled Love is the Answer. All you need is love, and love is the answer. We hear it again and again. In fact, one of my favorite poems from the 19th century by a poet, an English poet by the name of Leigh Hunt, talks about love. In fact, I think sometimes it was a big mistake that the term Bible was ever given to that collection of 66 writings. I've thought that it was a big mistake that there was what is called a closed canon. I would really almost like to prefer, I would rather call the Bible a library, 66 writings, and let it be a kind of loose leaf notebook in which you could add things that were really important at a later time. And one of them was Leigh Hunt's book, Leigh Hunt's poem about a mythical Mideast monarch. His name was Abu ben Adam. And the story is that Abu ben Adam was asleep one night and was awakened suddenly, and he saw an angel in his room. And the angel was writing in a book of gold. And Leigh Hunt has Abu ben Adam ask the angel, what is he writing? And he says, I am writing the names of those who love the Lord. And very quickly, Ben Adam says, well, is my name on that list? And the angel looks at the list and he says, nay, not so. But Ben Adam spoke more low but surely still and said, well, write me then as one who loves his fellow men. The angel wrote and disappeared, and the next night the angel came again and showed the names of those whom the love of God had blessed, and lo, Ben Adam's name led all the rest. It's a wonderful poem and would seem to be a valid commentary on the words of Jesus, I give you a new commandment, love one another. Well, what is it that made it new? Well, what made it new was what Jesus said immediately after that. He says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. That is a tremendously important qualifier, as I have loved you. Because if love is not pointed in the right direction, strangely enough and terrifying enough, it can become a very dangerous thing. I have no doubt but that the Arabians who flew their planes into the Twin Towers thought they were expressing love of God and love of their fellow men. And just recently, I saw on the news an interview with a Harvard graduate who said she would stab anyone who, instead of saying Black Lives Matter, said all lives matter. So love needs to have direction. It needs to be pointed in the right way, and I think that you have that in the words of Jesus, as I have loved you. And when he said those words, I wonder what went through the minds of his apostles. I'm sure that they thought of the many times they'd heard Jesus said that you should love one another. But now the newness of it is, as I have loved you. And they may have thought about everything that had happened in that week that had started on the previous Sunday, when Jesus rode in on the back of a donkey, and then cleansed the temple, cast out the money changers, and then engaged in conversation with the religious leaders of his day. And then gave that wonderful parable about the sheep and the goats, and said how important it was for people to care for each other. And then that very night, as they lay on their couches and ate the Last Supper, Jesus washed the feet of their disciples. Here was Jesus showing them exactly what it meant, as I have loved you, and said, go and do likewise. I think the wonder of all this is summed up in one of my favorite poets, John Betjeman, who says, and is it true, and is it true, this most tremendous tale of all, seen in a stained glass window view, a baby in an ox's stall, maker of the sky and sea, became a child on earth for me. Let's have a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, you are the one who leads us to I am. You had an intimacy with God that we do not know but long to experience. You called God our Father and invited us to join you as his children. Your servant John affirmed the divine to be love. We are very grateful to have a variety of holy names, each granting us another dimension of the passionately loving reality with whom we seek oneness, guidance, and wisdom to act consistently as your loving people. Amen. On next Tuesday, this splendid group of folks will be back to give you the latest news.